Thank you for all coming. My name is Paul Crossman. I work for BuildX. We specialize in accessory dwelling units. We're going to look at real quickly why the state created or passed what is known as the Affordable Homes Act, and that is what makes ADUs possible. So what's an ADU? An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. ADU is really a legal term. You can take the exact same property and put it on a piece of land that doesn't have a house on it, and it would be zoned a single-family home. The state passed a law that says any property that's zoned for single-family dwelling can, if they meet certain criteria, can put a second dwelling on that property. An ADU is just a small house. In every respect, you can take any one of the products we build and put it on a piece of property by itself, and it's a house. So with that, why did the state pass the Affordable Homes Act? But the big reason is they're trying to increase the housing stock in the state. And the legislature, I think, made the determination that the big problem in the state was land. And they looked particularly in eastern Massachusetts, where you have a lot of towns that had 1 acre plus zoning, where you have a lot of space, where you could put more housing. They say they were looking at the opportunity to provide people an opportunity to basically leverage their asset by creating rental property and then renting that out. As I mentioned, we don't currently build rental, but unfortunately, a lot of homeowners hear that they can create a rental property and they see dollar signs and they don't really look at the cost. And when we do the economics in a lot of the towns that we work in, we don't believe they can generate enough rental income to make it a good investment for them. So that basically the state's just trying to increase the housing inventory. So what are the rules? The rules for ADUs are really quite simple. Basically, the ADU is now a by right, meaning that the town has to allow them. The rules associated with them are it's got to be a single-family owner. Single-family ownership, there's no short-term rentals if it is a rental property. You've got to have a separate entrance. You can build what is the lesser of 900 square feet or 50% of your existing property. You've got to be able to comply with what are now known as the revised parking regulations. You've got to meet all of the existing zoning setbacks, and you've got to comply with Title V. So it's got to be a single owner, meaning that whoever owns the house, the dwelling, has to own the ADU itself. Basically what the state is trying to do is they're saying you can't create a condominium, you can't create a situation where it's a townhouse where one person owns one the other. At least that's the current rule. So when you do rentals, no short-term rentals. Short-term rental it's got to be 30 days or more, so no Airbnb kind of rentals, they're not allowed. Again, this is a bit town specific. I'm not aware of any towns right now that allow you to do short-term rentals, but they could. If you think about the Affordable Homes Act, the state really set the minimum threshold, so every town has to go by this. So they got to be located on the same lot. One of the big questions I get asked all the time is, oh, didn't this make it easier to build on lots that were challenging to build on before? And the quick answer is no, it didn't change anything. So if it was an unbuildable lot before, it's an unbuildable lot now. So it's got to meet Title V requirements. So in that case, the state gave a number of ways to handle. If you're on town sewage, that's easy. The towns have to allow you to connect. It's a little bit town dependent. Some towns you can connect direct. I think in all you can connect direct. Some towns allow you to connect through the house. You don't have to pay a separate connection fee to the town for that. So that's one. If you have private septic, if you have capacity, you can just add on to it. So you got to comply with Title V. There's a piece in Title V that we don't, in eastern Massachusetts, we don't run into a lot. There's a piece of the legislation Department of Environmental Protection rule that says if you have a private well on the property, your water source is a private well, you basically have to have 10,000 square feet of land for every bedroom that you have on your private septic system because of the well. It only comes into play if you have a well. If you're on town water, it doesn't matter. Separate entrance, obviously, you can have a detached or an attached, so that's a little bit of a change. It's towns that had in the past allowed in-laws often said they have to be attached. You can't create them as detached. State law says nope, they can be attached or detached. It doesn't matter. If it's unattached, it has to have a separate entrance per the building code. So that entrance can be straight to the outside, or it can be through a shared hallway with, but then both the house and the ADU have to have what is designated as a separate entrance. It can't be just like a closet door between the two. It's got to be a real door, and that's per the building code. The second biggest issue that we face with ADUs is over how big can it be. So the law reads, it's simple. It can be the smaller of 900 square feet or 50% of the existing dwelling. So how hard could it be? Well, the state threw a couple twists in. They created a new term. I think it's called gross floor area instead of square feet. So now the state says you can measure the ADU from the inside of the walls. You don't measure from the outside like we did before. So they also said that if the existing house, dwelling, has either attic space or cellar space that is not finished, but it could be finished with a ceiling height of 6 feet 8 inches, you can count that as your livable or your gross living area. But they also said, if you put a cellar under the ADU that can be finished at 6 feet 8 inches, we're counting that as livable space even if you don't finish it. So we are encouraging our clients to put in what we call a standard crawl space, which I think is 42 inches, and then we encapsulate it with foam, both the floor, ceiling, and the walls. In the New England environment, we feel that's the best way to go, and then it does not count. What if it's a garage? If it's a garage space, that never counts to your square footage. And we have a floor plan that's really quite popular that has a 2-car garage under. The whole lower level is garage, and then the ADU's on top. The next one is parking. A lot of towns that were dealing with in-law apartment situations, particularly in the more highly dense populated towns, they would create parking rules and parking formulas that made it very difficult to accommodate an apartment added on. The state said, we're not going to do that. If you are within half a mile of public transportation, you don't have to provide any parking spaces, and if you're not within half a mile, you have to provide one.
So what are the price tags? You talk about that?
When we meet with people in the beginning, we tell them we break it into 2 categories, sort of the 550, 600 square feet up to 750. Right. Those are the small ones, and then 750 to 900 are the big ones. So the smaller ones, they run from $190,000 to $250,000. For the smaller ones. The larger ones are running $250,000 to $350,000. Those are the ranges.
Are people using like modular homes for ADUs?
I'm going to say we've looked at every modular company in the eastern part of the country. We have, I believe, built or worked on projects with 2 modular companies. We have not found a modular company that we would present their product. Part of the reason is most people think they can save time by going the modular route or save money. We can't save time, and at best, our calculations is we might save them like $15,000. But on the flip side, we have no idea what they use for materials in the house. They can't build them faster, and I think we think they can't build them cheaper, so it's kind of like why We've done a couple, and the homeowners were not happy. There were things that even we thought would be part of the package that they bought, and it wasn't. And the homeowner had to then go and buy that stuff. So things like grab rails in bathrooms, drawer pulls, just simple stuff that's like, of course that's going to be included. It's not.
Do you know anything about tiny homes? Are they considered ADUs?
I believe the state law allows you to go down to as small as 150 square feet, I think. So I usually think of tiny homes as things below 600 square feet. But tiny homes, at least as I read the state law, they would qualify in the ADU category.
Why would you want it as an ADU and opposed to just an addition to your house?
Ease of permitting, maybe. The town could turn down an addition. Basically, with the ADU, they can't, as long as you meet the criteria. And I guess it really has to do with what do you want to use it for. I think it has mostly to do with what, it might be cases where you can't get an addition approved, maybe, I don't know. But I think it's more what you plan on doing with it.
So can somebody take a property and like knock a wall out and go back and call it an ADU?
Okay, very good question. There are a number of things you can do and call it an ADU. There are, you can convert a cellar into an ADU. We have talked to, it's more difficult than you would imagine, and often it has to do with egress, having a good way out. So, but you can also convert a second floor or an attic space into an ADU. In both of those cases, that having defined doorways to meet the building code. You can build a detached, you can build an attached. We've had a number of people who have approached us about converting an existing shed or garage into an ADU. To really be an ADU, you have to have kitchen space, bathroom space, living space, and sleeping space. It can be a studio, but you have to have all of those things. The things that we don't know, the list is getting smaller, but each town is unique. So there are just, what we're finding is patience is the most important thing. Most of the towns, I would say, that we have built in, the towns have been very good, sometimes slow because they're trying to figure out the rules. We're of the philosophy of just let the builder be involved from the beginning, even if you're working with an architect. And if they're a good builder, they'll stick in their swim lane, and they're really just trying to look at, are you going to get what you're willing to pay for at the end, instead of getting all the way to the end. In our case, we do full service. We find out all of the information. Chances are we have a relationship already with the town, and we can get information quicker. I would encourage you, go on our website. We have interviews with all kinds of financial institutions and civil engineers, and you name it, all around ADUs and whatnot. Thank you so much, and yeah, good luck.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. Hit subscribe so you never miss our latest content. Visit buildx.com for all the details. That's build with an X.com. BuildX. Just build, baby.